Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Folks, today is and it's an awful day. It really is. This is news that I don't think anybody was expecting, but we have gotten word, and this is now 4 or 5 hours old, so I'm not the first to break this story, of course, but we've gotten word that actor Paul Reubens passed away yesterday at the age of 70. Go ahead and put this on the screen. Paul had been publicly, or privately, I should say, battling cancer for the last 6 years. And apparently the battle is over for Paul Reubens, who brought to life the beloved man-child Pee Wee Herman. Of course, I fell in love with the character in the early 80s, and I think I first saw him on David Letterman. That's my first exposure to Pee Wee Herman, and it was just such a perfect pairing. Dave played the straight guy, and Paul played this crazy kid, grown man who is still a kid, and it was chaos. It was chaos on the Letterman show, and Paul was just so funny, and David let him be funny. And he made multiple appearances during the early 80s. And then, of course, we had Pee Wee's Big Adventure, Big Top Pee Wee, television specials, a Saturday morning TV show. Just a few years back, we had another Netflix movie, Pee Wee's Big Holiday. It was what a life, what a talented individual. And beyond the Pee Wee Herman character, he also played many other great roles, a couple that come to mind. Mystery Men was a fantastic performance by Paul. And then also, I really loved him in Batman Returns as the Penguin's father. And that was just a brief cameo. But then later on the television series Gotham, he returned and played the same role, although albeit slightly different on that television series. So just a tough loss today for the entertainment community, and for those of us that just love pop culture. Paul Reubens was close to being the king. And so I thought that I would come on and we would have a virtual celebration of life. Celebration of this individual's talent, the laughter, the smiles, the mirth that he brought all of us. And you know what? We can talk about the fact that he ran into troubles in the 90s and in the early 2000s. And he was a human being who made mistakes. But I say we celebrate the gifts that he left behind. And that is the character of Pee Wee Herman and all the amazing entertainment that we can still enjoy even now. I do want to share his comment or his message that was posted on Instagram earlier today. He says, "Please accept my apology for not going public with what I've been facing for the last 6 years. I've always felt a huge amount of love and respect for my friends, fans, and supporters. I have loved you all so much and enjoyed making art for you." Wow, well said. Well said. And in a little bit, I'll share a few comments from Twitter. I should say X. That's what Twitter's called now. But a few comments from celebrities about Paul Reubens and the impact and the connections that he made with them. But first, I want to get to you guys and get to your comments, because this is an opportunity for us to celebrate the life of Paul Reubens. Timothy E. Coxus says, "Rest in peace, legend." So true. So true. Michael Valentino says, "So sad. He was great in Blow." I didn't see Blow, so didn't realize that Paul Reubens was in that. Marianne Lockwood says, "Hello." Hello, Marianne. We're here talking about Paul Reubens. Please feel free to share your memories of Paul Reubens and his character Pee Wee Herman, or anything else that he did in television and movies. Marianne says that movie was just on the other day. I guess you're referring to Pee Wee's Big Adventure. And then he goes and dies the day after I saw it. DJ Mexicano de Texas says, "Rest in peace, Pee Wee." And Justin Aylett said, Just heard this. He looked about 58, not 70. Well, in Pee Wee's Big Holiday, the Netflix movie, they actually de-aged him a little bit to make him look even younger, but he certainly didn't look 70. Karen Lester says, so very sad. I love watching his show and movies with my grandkids. And Rachel in 208 says, he was so talented. He was beyond Pee Wee. Anton Miles says hi to me as well as everyone else here. Hey, Anton, feel free to share your Pee Wee Herman, Paul Reubens memories. Ken Pope asks how long he suffered from cancer. It was a private 6-year battle, so for a while, Ken. Rachel in the 208 says, this is what I was just saying, laugh out loud. Yeah, no one was expecting this one. Dolly Dagger says, so sad, legend. Randy Vandala says, rest in peace, Paul Reubens. Remember him from the Blues Brothers. I loved Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Let's see. Jason Schultz says, he sure was an original. He really was. You know, he was kind of like, if you were a kid and you imagined what being an adult living on your own would be like, that's kind of what Pee Wee Herman was like, at least in my imagination, you know, that living in the house and all the Rube Goldberg contraptions that he had going on, and just the way that still life was about riding your bike and playing with your cool toys. And it just, he captured that moment of nostalgia for those of us that were transitioning from youth to adulthood in the 80s perfectly. More comments. Michelle Rose Jackson says, sad news about Pee Wee Herman or Paul Reubens. I remember watching reruns of Pee Wee's Playhouse on Adult Swim, saw Pee Wee's Big Adventure on cable, and I remember the Pee Wee doll. As do I. All of those things, Michelle. Jerry Gillespie says, just heard the news. Rest in peace, Paul. Pika 23, hey, how's it going? Says, I heard of him from the movies. I was 7. The movie was on HBO when I was 8, and we made a big event of it to watch. My friend rented the adult Pee Wee Herman show because her mom didn't realize. Yeah, now Pee Wee, the character, started as Pee Wee Herman, or Paul Reubens, was part of a comedy troupe in the 70s called the Groundlings. And the character of Pee Wee Herman came out of that comedy troupe. And then Paul took that character and he had this late night kind of play show. I'm not sure. It was in a theater in West Coast. And he did a spoof of basically children's television shows, but it was very adult themed at first. It wasn't until later on as Pee Wee Herman became more of a character that was just everyone knew of him, and children liked him as much as grown-ups. As such, the character certainly toned it down a little bit, but Paul always found a way to insert adult humor still. Not, you know, it was tasteful, but adult humor into the character and the show, whether it was even on the Saturday morning television show Pee Wee's Playhouse. All right, let's keep going. Justin, a.k.a. Braidwood Inn, says, I watched Pee Wee's Big Adventure and Back to the Future constantly throughout the 80s. I still watch both of those movies constantly. I don't think a year goes by that I don't watch both of those films. Mike Silva says he was great in Pee Wee's Big Adventure and Pee Wee's Playhouse. Folks, if you haven't seen the Netflix movie, Pee Wee's Big Holiday, check it out. It's a step up. You know, I didn't really love Big Top Pee Wee as much as I did Big Adventure. I thought Big Holiday was a return to form. Cat's Crazy World Gadooge says, rest in peace, Paul Reubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman. Condolences to his family and friends and fans that are watching. Wanda Hall says, thanks, Doc. Thanks. Okay. And let's see what else we got here. Mike Silva does some solid emoji work there. And Danny Hooley says, I actually have a VHS tape of Pee Wee's Playhouse Christmas special. That was a great Christmas special. So much fun to watch. Folks that are just arriving, hey, let me go ahead and quickly cover what has already been mentioned up at the top of this live stream. We got news earlier today, it's been 6 or 7 hours ago now, that Paul Reubens, the actor who created Pee Wee Herman, has passed away from cancer at the age of 70. It was a 6-year private battle, and Paul posted a message posthumously on Instagram today saying, please accept my apology for not going public with what I've been facing for the past 6 years. I've always felt a huge amount of love and respect from my friends, fans, and supporters. I have loved you all so much and enjoyed making art for you. What a lovely message, and what a wonderful person. Like I said, I noticed that all the news outlets have to talk about the trouble that Paul ran into with the law in the 90s and then in early 2000s. And I'm not going to. I'll mention it right here, but I'm not going to go into the details. If you want to go down that path, go for it. It's all over, you just Google it. You'll find the stories there. But he was a human being. He made mistakes. But more than that, he was a talented actor/comedian who brought a lot of joy to a lot of people. And that's what we're remembering here today. I'm going to share some comments from Twitter, also known as X now. Thanks for that crappy name change, Elon. This is from The Muppets. They said, we absolutely loved Paul Reubens, whether he was delighting audiences as the iconic Pee Wee Herman or being given the honorary Muppet Award in Muppet Magazine in 1987. He brought a burst of joy, creativity, and laughter everywhere he went. Martha Quinn says, gutted, absolutely gutted. I will miss your birthday texts like crazy. Thank you for the joy you brought me and the world. Dee Snider, frontman for Twisted Sister, says, rest in peace, Paul Reubens. We shared a moment. It was Pee Wee's decision for Twisted Sister to be performing Burn in Hell during that scene in Pee Wee's Big Adventure. And here's a touching one. This is from E.G. Daily. Now, those of you that don't remember who E.G. Daily is, she played Dottie in Pee Wee's Big Adventure. She's also a musician, a singer, and she is a talented voiceover actor doing many characters on Saturday morning television shows. But anyway, she says, Paul, the Pee Wee to my Dottie, I am so grateful for getting to do this amazing ride with you. Thoughtful, kind, brilliant, and love. Rest in peace, my sweet friend. Love you, EG/Dottie. I've got some more comments from entertainers in just a little bit, folks. But first, I want to get back to your comments. I know I'm running a little bit behind on this stuff. So let me see if I can get back to those comments. Here we go. Saul Gann says he was great as a mental patient in Cheech and Chong's our movie Nice Dreams. I remember that. Rachel in the 208 says, I wish people would start calling him Paul and not Pee Wee. I don't think he minded. I don't think that I'm sure that all actors and entertainers away from the screen appreciate being called by their own name. But the fact that so many people identify him as Pee Wee is a testament to what he created and how powerful that character was in our minds, in our memories. Gary Corbin says, Back to the Future, I would have to keep a lookout for him. He was great in CSI. I don't remember him in CSI, Gary. Let's see. If my name were Paul Reubens instead of Danny Hooley, this is Danny Hooley saying this, I'd have, instead of making Pee Wee's Playhouse as a legit Saturday morning kids show on CBS, I'd have pitched the show to HBO as a kids show. So interestingly, before Pee Wee's Big Adventure, I think it was right around the time as his appearances on the Letterman show, he had HBO specials, and they were adult HBO specials. Not that there was anything truly tasteless in them or anything like that, but they were geared towards adults, not kids. Let's see. So he had been on HBO, Danny. Let's see. Danny says, a parody for grown-ups. Annie Lane says, I enjoyed Pee Wee so much. Randy Vandalus says, I remember him from the Blues Brothers. Love Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Robert Dragoff says, I was stunned when I heard about his death, as was I. This was not expected. Oh, hey, it's Yester Kitchen. How are you? Good to see you. My heart is broken, she says. Thank you, Pee Wee, for so many memories. And John S. says he also did a funny one off on Everybody's Loves Raymond as Peter, Amy McDougal's comic book store brother. I don't remember that. I need to go back and check that out. That sounds like that would have been fun. Okay, Lisa Drayden says, rest in peace, you will be deeply missed. I loved him as Pee Wee Herman. He always made me laugh. I will miss him. Commissar Skidmore said, Paul was a genuine talent, and I pray he found God's peace in later years. Danny Hooley says, before I was a teenager, I thought Pee Wee Herman was a real person. Yeah, I mean, it was that convincing. And Paul, to his credit, early on would never step out of character, right? He was always Pee Wee Herman when he was on screen or in a news interview or anything. He carried it that far. And I think he had tremendous success because of it. Let's see. Tracy Roth Myers says, hi all. Very saddened by this news, as am I. Lynn Purcell says he was talented. My kids and I really loved watching his show and the movie. Let's see. Rachel in the 208 says, I love Pee Wee's Playhouse. I was in high school. Lisa Fields says, hey, Dave, my son loved Pee Wee's Playhouse, and I loved his movies. So sad. Rachel in the 208 remembers Paul on The Gong Show. Sounds like something he would have done. Let's see. Simply Steve 68 says, I saw Paul's Pee Wee Herman show on HBO. Yes, exactly. Jim Watson says, rest in peace. JW says, I love his shows and movies. David Rasmussen cannot believe that Pee Wee Herman, a.k.a. Paul Reubens, has died. Yep. Hey, Danny. Greetings from Kaysville, Utah. Rachel in the 208 says, Phil Hartman was his creative partner for many years. Indeed, he was. They were partners in crime. Maud Matilda H says, such sad and terrible news today about Pee Wee. I always liked him. Let's see. Danny says he would call that HBO show Pee Wee's Playhouse for Grown-Ups. Perfect title. Pirate Lestrange says, I know you are, but what am I? Classic Pee Wee Herman line. He had all the lines. Everything we'd said as kids on the playground, they were all there in that movie. Speaking of Phil Hartman, he co-wrote that script for Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Greg's Garden Railroad says, I thought Pee Wee's Big Adventure was hilarious at the time when I saw it in the mid-'80s, as did I. Tim Burton's first big feature film as well. Yes. Simply Steve 68 points out that Lawrence Burton got his start as Cowboy Curtis on Pee Wee's Playhouse. Skippy's Peanut Butter Cups 59 says, absolutely enjoy Pee Wee's Big Adventure. We should all watch it again tonight. Randy Vandala says he made it cool to express your inner child. And Lisa Drayden says, I loved him in Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse and Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Rest in peace. Yes, he was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie. Correct. Yes, he was great in that. Oh, let's see. Danny points out there's R-rated. Well, I guess he's envisioning the HBO special that would have been done. I'm going to keep moving here. So let's remember and celebrate what Paul accomplished. Yeah, that scene where he passed out by the side of the road. Oh, Large Marge, by the way. What a classic character Large Marge was. I have a video that I made about Large Marge a couple of years ago. I will play that when we're done here. Jay Elsner says, damn cancer. David Rasmussen says, got to do some tequila song. Yes. Looks like they separated. He and Phil had a parting of ways in the late 80s, according to Pika 23. Good to know. Corey Thorne says, I remember Paul Reubens in Cheech and Chong's Nice Dreams. Yes. Let's see. Randy Vandala says he made it cool to embrace your inner child. Yes, he did. Let's see. Babies in Space says, rest well, Pee Wee. You were an excellent human. And Nakoti says, he was a nice and funny guy. He made us laugh. Let's see. James Bodnerchuk says, sorry to hear. And I did enjoy The Spleen as well. I was trying to remember his character's name in Mystery Men. I thought that's an underrated movie and well worth seeking out if you've never seen it. David Rasmussen says, I know you are, but what am I? And Nick Cody says, Infinity. Tommy Pickles, that's the E.G. Daily does the voice of Tommy Pickles. Yeah. Greg's Garden Railroad said he certainly had the right to stay private about it. Thank you for not emphasizing the bumps he had along the road of life. We all have them, and we do. Let me stop there. And we do. We all have them. Some mistakes are bigger than others, but we all make mistakes. And at my passing, I surely hope that that's not what folks focus on. We're certainly not going to do that today when we're talking about Paul. Robert Dragoff says, Paul Reubens, he will be missed. Snark and Sass says, rest in peace, Pee Wee. Babies in Space says, I remember the old HBO Pee Wee. It was funny. Now I'm going to stop here again for just a second for those folks that are just joining us. We got news probably 7-8 hours ago, somewhere around there, that actor Paul Reubens had passed away. Not today. It was on Sunday. It was yesterday that he passed away. He had been battling cancer privately for 6 years. So I'm guessing, boy, that Pee Wee's Big Holiday movie that came out on Netflix, it's only 4 or 5 years old. So he was probably battling cancer at that time. But anyway, dies at the age of 70 from cancer. And Paul left a message. Someone posted it for him today on Instagram. He says, please accept my apology for not going public with what I've been facing the last 6 years. I've always felt a huge amount of love and respect from my friends, fans, and supporters. I've loved you all so much and enjoyed making art for you. Paul Reubens. What a lovely last message to fans, right? Okay, let's do a few more entertainer comments over on X, aka Twitter. I hate that new name. Here's from Ricky Lake. She says, Paul Reubens was my friend for almost 3 decades. I am in disbelief that he is gone. Beyond grateful for all the memories and the countless laughs. Jimmy Kimmel says, Paul Reubens was like no one else, a brilliant and original comedian who made kids and their parents laugh at the same time. He never forgot a birthday and shared his genuine delight for silliness with everyone he met. My family and I will miss him. David Hasselhoff, the Hoff, says, Paul Reubens was a great, great friend. He gave me the Muppets for my birthday and never forgot anyone's birthday from our class. He was in my class at Cal Arts, and he was always kind to me and to everyone. He will be missed. And finally, Corey Feldman says, I'm so sad today to learn that my dear lifelong friend, Paul Reubens, has passed away from cancer. We spent my birthday texting each other back and forth all day. He never indicated that he was even sick. A genius, groundbreaking comedian. And despite all his flaws, he was an excellent human being. And he brought love and laughter, as you can see, into many people's lives where he interacted with them and connected with them. And to those of us that only got to experience the joy of Paul Reubens through TV and movies, well, he did a darn good job of bringing joy to us as well. Let me go back and let's read a few more of your comments. And yeah, let's celebrate this life. Celebrate the life of Paul Reubens. And if I miss someone, I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Dale Sanford says, I always have been a Pee Wee Herman fan. Sad to see him go along with Ernest and Robin Williams. Big part of my childhood right there. Let's see. Sonic Bloom says, no, even outside of his Pee Wee character, he was a really funny guy. I loved his sense of humor. What happened to cause him to die? Cancer. He was still pretty young, 70 years old. Let's see. This Corey says, remember Paul on MyCert? I don't know what MyCert is. Simply Steve 68 says, Big Top Pee Wee was funny as well. To me, it's the lesser of the three movies, but I still enjoy it and watch it from time to time. Yeah, he sure did, Randy. That's a repeat comment, I think. Let's see. Snark and Sass says, we made a secret word for today. Yes, he had the secret word. Dale Santaford said, I really enjoyed how much Pee Wee Herman would be on the Conan show right around the end when he was on the Tonight Show. And he got his start on those late night talk shows with David Letterman. And those two were a hoot to watch together. They just really played off each other so darn well. Ronald Goldson says, alas, alas, the chariots of God and the horsemen thereof. I don't know what that means, but there you go. Corey Thorne says, remember, Paul, oh, you meant Mystery Man. Okay, yes. Yes, I do remember him. And someone else pointed out he played a character called the Spleen. Tapatio on Pizza says, remember paging Mr. Herman, paging Mr. Herman. Yeah, great moment where it's just this moment in Pee-wee's Big Adventure at the end where they're making the Pee-wee movie with James Brolin playing the P.W. Herman character and Morgan Fairchild playing the role of Dottie. So funny. Suzanne O says, I will never forget Pee-wee's HBO special, one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. So sad he is gone. And the Nostalgic Pod Blast says, Paul looked great in the February 11th, 2021 episode of Celebrity Wheel of Fortune. Rest in peace, Paul. Was funny and weird in those two Cheech and Chong flicks. I only remember him in Nice Dreams. David Rasmussen says, hey, someone stole my bike. You know what? That I like I said, that's that idea that he had that the bike is so pivotal to the idea of, like, if you're a kid and you're wondering what your life is going to be like when you're grown up, you probably still envision you're still riding a bike quite frequently. And it's the perfect, his character, Pee Wee Herman, the creation of it allowed us to, as kids, it's exactly what we as kids thought adult life might be like if we were living on our own and just living our perfect life, right? Yes, I remember him on Back to the Beach with Annette Funicello. That was, and Frankie Avalon, that was their reunion movie in the 80s. Lisa Field says, in the 80s, we did the Pee Wee Herman dance. A rapper made a song about it. I don't remember the rap song. Chris Borchert says, how many people remember I'm annoying everyone with the secret word gag from Pee Wee's Playhouse? I remember it. Suzanne O says, Captain Carl, did you wash your hands? No. Let's see. I don't believe Paul ever married or had children. Danny says he was so funny. True. And indeed, Maurice Hampton says, that's sad. What a major talent. Yeah, for sure. Ann B. Davis was not Large Marge. That was another actress who played Large Marge. But I can see the similarities. And I am going to play my video about Large Marge when I end this online celebration of Paul's life here in a bit. Jose Bonito Martinez Jr. says, Dave Sundstrom, the scenes where he's hitchhiking before he gets picked up by the dude in the convertible was filmed 2 blocks from my house off the I-5 freeway, Old Road here in Santa Clarita, California. How cool is that? That's awesome. Rachel in the 208 says that an adult Pee Wee Playhouse would be called Pee Wee's Dojo Mojo Casa Playhouse. Yes, I love the scene, Moonstorm, where in the Alamo basement. It depends on the version of Pee Wee's Playhouse you're talking about. The Saturday morning show was definitely for kids, but the HBO version that aired prior to Pee Wee's Big Adventure was not. It wasn't tasteless though. It was just aimed at adults. Mike Silva says, sad he is gone. I was a fan of Pee Wee. Let's see. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Paul was great in Nice Dreams. Thanks for sharing that, Sean. Let's see. It would be nice, and I bet you we will see some airing of Pee Wee's Playhouse in the not too distant future. Let's see. I'm not sure I understand this comment. Yeah, and I think they're Iranes. I should probably understand that one, but I don't. Yeah, the new Pee Wee's Big Holiday movie is on Netflix still, and it is great, especially if you're a Joe Manganiello fan. It's really funny. Danny Hooley says, I remember seeing Paul as a teenager on Murphy Brown, where he was a regular for a while. I did not know he was on Murphy Brown. Suzanne O says, Paul was amazing in Mystery Men as the Spleen, an underrated movie. I love it so much, for sure. Dean Mac GA says, I watched Pee Wee's Playhouse with my son back in the day. I always loved the theme song and the claymation. Yeah. All the music was great on the show. Rest in peace, Mr. Reubens. Mystery Men was a great movie. Rachel in the 208. Lance Chaffin's here. Hey, Lance, how you doing? Definitely rest in peace, Paul. Sakina McMurrin says, I liked Paul Rubin on Gotham, Dave. Yeah, he was great. Wasn't he? It was so great to see him return to that role. A role that he had, it was just a cameo in Batman Returns. And I mean, slightly different version of the Penguin's father, but still, so good to see it. Sakina also says, I hate cancer. I lost my mother and grandfather to cancer. Yeah, cancer sucks. My condolences to you, Sakina. Sean agrees Mr. Men was so good. Let's see. Jose Bonito Martinez Jr. says, Tim Burton went to college just up the road here in Santa Clarita, the Disney-led college, California Institute of Arts. Yeah. Chris Budaracco says, I know you are, Dave, but what am I? And Chris Borchard asks again how many people remember the secret word gag, which was fun. Kenny the Wine Guy says, will be so sadly missed. Pete J says, for many Saturday mornings, it was Pee Wee's Playhouse and The Tick back to back. Both great shows. Yeah. And Tracy Rothmeyer says the Groundlings were great. Yeah. I mean, you had Phil Hartman, you had Paul Reubens, and you had Elvira, Cassandra Peterson there. And others. Those are the ones that come to mind right now. Chris Budaracco says the funniest moments on Letterman. Oh, yeah. Hilarious. They were indeed. Del Santaford says, it surprised me seeing Pee Wee in the Meatballs movie. He was a bus driver with his regular voice playing himself, Paul Reubens. I've seen Meatballs, and I don't remember him in it, but it's been decades since I've seen that movie. Brad says, I loved Pee Wee. Kenny the Wine Guy says, always remember his cameo in Batman Returns. Yeah, that was a good one. Problem Child says, rest in peace, Pee Wee. The spleen lives forever, says Redfish Tech 73. Danny Hooley points out that Paul Reubens was born in Peekskill, New York, and grew up afterwards in Sarasota, Florida. And Rachel in the 208 says, does anyone remember him on the show Madam? That was with Waylon Flowers, right? Waylon Flowers and Madam. Jay-Z, a classic quote from Pee Wee, I'm a loner, Dottie. I'm a rebel. Folks, let's see if I can get through these here quickly. Loved Lawrence Fishburne on Pee Wee's Playhouse, says Chris Budaracos. Brad says, I like the Pee Wee dance. Yeah, tequila. A. Marie says he grew up in my hometown. He used to sweep up the floors at the Players Theater before he started acting. How cool is that? Chris Budaracos says, my brother has the talking Pee Wee Herman doll. Okay, Sean Innes says, Thrash wanted me to say hi, hey, to Thrash Pondo. Folks, if you want to, I'm going to end this stream here in just a minute or so. If you want to catch a great live stream afterwards, Thrash Pondo Ponds is streaming right now, it looks like. David Kerbow says, I can't believe he's gone. Loved him in an episode of Fringe and on Gotham. John Hepfer says, Angus Cloud from Euphoria has also died. He was only 25. Oh, wow. Let's see what else we have. Oh, A. Marie says my uncle was his parents' plumber, and they had a whole room with his memorabilia. David Rasmussen says Pee Wee was a big kid in my eyes. Danny Hooley remembers him in Back to the Beach. Jose Benito remembers him in the Cheech and Chong movie's next movie in Nice Dreams. Let's see, Mr. Block Ice 22 says, rest in peace, my dude Pee Wee. One of the reasons why my childhood was the best. Let's see. J.R. Hine 0324 says there was a Pee Wee impersonator at the Aurora, Ohio SeaWorld. Well, good person to impersonate. I loved it when he ran out of the pet store in Pee Wee's Big Adventure with all those snakes. So much funny. So much fun. Hey, Kenneth, how are you doing? Raja 1938 points out that the most recent work that they saw him in was playing the Penguin's father in Gotham. Great job. He did that with that. Let's see. Don't You Ween says, anytime I hear the song Tequila, Pee Wee Herman comes to mind. Yeah, and I'm sure it is true for many of us. I could keep going, but folks, here's what I'm going to ask. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up again. For those folks who are late, just joining, I do want to share one more time the news that Paul Reubens, the comedian / actor who brought to life the character, the man-child, Pee Wee Herman, has passed away after privately battling cancer for 6 years at the age of 70. So Paul, earlier today, posthumously, so he passed away yesterday on Sunday, but today someone posted on his behalf on Instagram with a message from him saying, please accept my apology for not going publicly with what I've been facing the last 6 years. I've always felt a huge amount of love and respect from my friends, fans, and supporters. I have loved you all so much and enjoyed making art for you. Paul Reubens. What a lovely message. So here's what I'd ask. Please leave your comments, your thoughts, your memories in the comments section below. Let's have this online celebration, the last 40 minutes that we've spent together. Let's continue it on through comments, and let's share our memories of Paul Reubens and his character, Pee Wee Herman, and all of the other amazing things that he did. Let's continue to share them and celebrate this amazing man's, this entertainer's life, because it is truly worthy of celebration. So with that, folks, I promised a video at the end here. We're going to do twofold. We're going to have Pee Wee Herman pop in with a public service announcement, and then we're going to follow that up with a video that I made about Large Marge. And it's my hope that as Paul was on his way up to the pearly gates, Large Marge was there to pick him up and give him a lift. So with that said, folks, have a great evening. Let's all find our own special way of remembering Paul Reubens and celebrating his life and the character of Pee Wee Herman.
This is crack, rock cocaine. It isn't glamorous or cool or kid stuff. It's the most addictive kind of cocaine, and it can kill you. What's really bad is nobody knows how much it takes. So every time you use it, you risk dying. It isn't worth it. Look, everybody wants to be cool, but doing it with crack isn't just wrong. It could be dead wrong.
You know, I've always felt like appearances can be deceiving, and never was that statement ever more true than when it came to long-haul trucker and friend to all, Large Marge. When I think about it, I don't really know if too many people knew Marge's full name. We all just called her Marge. But with that said, those who knew her best knew what a kind and yet tragic soul this person was. And nowhere was that more evident than on that fateful night when a young hitchhiker on a quest to recover a missing bicycle was dearly in need of a ride. Marge was there, just like she always was for those in need. Some folks say that Marge looked an awful lot like veteran character actor Alice Nunn, who was a regular in the 1965 TV series Camp Run-Amok. Truthfully, I just don't know. You be the judge. Here are a couple more TV appearances from the mid-60s. Alice could be found on shows like Hazel and Petticoat Junction. And here's a mid-70s movie appearance in the classic disaster film Airport 75, where Alice played a character known only as Lady with a Dog. Now, could Alice and Large Marge be one and the same? It's possible, the world may never know. What we do know is that actress Alice Nunn left this mortal plane in the middle of 1988. And ever since that time, fans of Large Marge have been visiting Alice's grave to pay their respects. Coincidence? I think not. If only Leonard Nimoy and his TV show In Search Of was still around, I'm sure that he could get to the bottom of this mystery. All joking aside, folks, a huge shout out to Paul Reubens, the gifted actor and comedian who brought Pee Wee Herman to life. His tweet this morning reminding everyone of Marge's birthday inspired this little video. I've got to say, if you're not following Pee Wee Herman on Twitter, you should head on over there right now and click on that follow button, and then
be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
So that's it. One last picture. Pee-wee's Big Adventure is one of my favorite movies ever. It's such a crazy, unique, off-the-wall bit of movie making. Every time I watch it, I'm amazed by the creativity that was captured on film. Alright, now it's your turn. Please share your memories of Marge in the comments section. While you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this little video, and I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.